All right, welcome everybody to the Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee's Open Space Task Force. Just our first statement here, this meeting's being recorded by the Open Space Task Force, and if any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify me at this time. All right, thanks for everyone's patience. And we'll start off by going around with some introductions. We have a new member of our team here, a representative from the Recreation Commission who we're excited to have join us. So, and if you want to start off, Daniel, with Dan with an introduction, would be great.
Yeah, I'm Dan Pesicki. Been in Greenfield for 10 years now. I've been part of the Greenfield Recreation Commission somewhere between 3 and 4 years. I can't remember an exact start date. But prior to that, was volunteering for them. I'm a real estate agent as well, so I'm tied into the community quite a bit.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yep.
Go around, Patty.
I'm Patty O'Neill, and I am a non-voting member. I'm leading the pollinator mowing goal of the Open Space Task Force.
I'm Pat Sorrentino, and I'm a non-voting member of the task force, and I'm working on the park part with trails and stuff like that, and a little bit on the acquiring land part too.
Great. I'll explain a little bit more in a second here. I'm Jonah Keenan. I'm on the Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee and the chair of the task force.
Emily Boss. I'm a voting member and I am also a member of the Conservation Commission. I'm a forester and I work for Franklin Land Trust. So I'm sort of focusing on conservation issues and maybe some community engagement as well.
So, and Allison is joining us from the train. So yes. Go ahead, Allison.
Hi, I'm Allison Gage. I'm a non-voting member and yes, on the train, but listening in.
We can hear you amazingly well. Nancy, you want to introduce yourself?
Nancy Hazard, and I'm a non-voting member, and I'm a member of the Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee and Greening Greenfield, and I'm considering becoming a member of this committee.
Love to hear it, Nancy. Great. I think we'll spend, our schedule got shifted around a little bit, but I think it fits into our agenda still. I didn't see the minutes from Francoise. Did anybody see the minutes from us? I didn't see those, so I know she had to go to France pretty soon after our last meeting. So I'm not sure if those I don't think they were sent around. So we'll plan to approve those along with this meeting at the next meeting. We'll have a double approval. So the next item on our agenda is moving our priorities forward. We had on here that the conservation agent, Jessica, was going to join us. We were thinking of going through our maps that we're looking at. That's going to be pushed to next month. So this month we have basically our meeting here just to touch base on our priorities and maybe we can at the same time bring Dan up to speed a bit on what we're doing. So I guess I'll just say sort of as a big introduction to what we're doing. So we've been going for a little over a year now. We were created in response to the master plan and the open space and recreation plan, both saying that there should be a open space committee in town. But the history of our mayors have been reluctant to create new committees just because it's hard enough to find volunteers for our existing committees. So all three of our mayors have been reluctant to say yes to creating a new one. So we said, no, we have the ability within the Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee to create a task force. Let's just go ahead and create our own open space committee as a task force. So that's what we did. And the way that we're functioning, so Nancy and Francoise, who's not here, and myself are on the SGIC, and Emily is on the Conservation Commission, and you are now our Recreation Commission representative, are all sort of the the voting members of the committee.
Okay.
And so that one, which basically means we approve the minutes and we vote to adjourn. But there's not a lot of other voting that goes on at this point.
Fair enough.
And then we have our dedicated other members, namely Allison, Patty, and Pat, who have been coming to all the meetings, participate as active members, but they're not on SGIC, they're not on the commission, so they haven't been mayorally appointed. So they're not officially voting members of the committee, but they participate as regular members.
Okay.
It's just another one of our little loopholes in trying to figure out how to make this all work.
Yeah.
And then Nancy is a member of SGIC and has been coming to these meetings a bit and is considering being an official member, but so far it's just been a casual. That's the brief summary of how we're functioning. So we mentioned a bit of the priorities as we went around a little bit. What we did is we took the OSRP and we honed in on 4 areas that we wanted to focus in on. And at the moment, here, let's pull this up since we're going to be looking at it. So that didn't ask me if are you seeing that, Nancy?
Not yet.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Now are you?
Yes, I am.
Great. Thank you. So this is how we're looking at how our focus of our work. We've combined a number of within the OSRP, which I assume you're at least somewhat familiar with from the rec commission work. And so there's a 7-year action plan that has a lot of many good things that we need to do, but it's a lot of things to do. So we combined some of them together into this sort of one big one that's focused on identifying, mapping, and then working with the city and with partners to protect new land. So it's kind of, there's a lot of components to it, but the big thing is basically protect new land, help to facilitate the protection of new land in some way. For conservation, for agriculture, and recreation falls in this. We haven't had a recreation commission rep, and it hasn't been a big focus of ours to date, but it does fall into the OSRP of the goal. So to date, we have been working on creating maps that will show the conservation priority of different parcels in the city. And so Allison and Patty, we're taking the lead on that. We have some great drafts. In our next meeting, we're going to look a little more closely at those. And then our plan is to take them from that next meeting and share with the city, with other people, Conservation Commission, others that would be Conservation Commission, Recreation Commission, that would be interested in providing input on it. So, and then under each of our 4 priorities, we're listing out some next steps. And just at our last meeting, we have created a lead for each one of them. So Allison is our lead for this first one. And then we're creating a number of next steps of what to do and who's going to be the lead on those different things that need to happen. So I guess we'll just keep doing a quick overview for Dan's sake, and then we'll come back to that to look at the details. The second priority is the trails. And Francoise is taking the lead on that and looking at how we can work to help to improve and maintain existing trails. It'd be great to have your involvement in input on that for sure. The third is looking at our pollinator plan. That the plan exists, but the implementation of it is needing some assistance. So we've decided to put that into our priorities as well and help to get that off the ground. And then the fourth priority we've had is some community engagement. So we're hoping to do some type of community engagement session or sessions in the coming months. We think we're saying late winter, early spring is sort of at the moment our target time frame for that to get input on the work that we're doing and make sure that this is not just happening in a bubble and that
Right.
we're getting the community involved with that. So, and Emily's the lead on that one. Oh, I'm sorry, Patty was the lead on that one. So that's what as I mentioned, the OSRP has this amazing 7-year action plan with so much in it. And we're a small team of volunteers and trying to, with limited time.
Right.
So we tried to hone in and see what we could focus on. And this is what we've decided for this year from the summer to summer.
Okay, yep.
And do you have any questions or any additions from anybody else on the team about sort of that overview of what we're working on?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I've had like couple of Nancy's been to a rec commission meeting for really similar stuff, so
Yeah,
I met her before and Francois was there a couple.
Right.
I think 2 meetings ago or 3 meetings ago.
Yep.
I mean, that's what kind of got the ball rolling, like, oh, we should have someone on this committee, so.
Yeah.
I guess I was kind of vaguely familiar with even kind of the things you had been focusing on recently.
Oh, good.
And I knew you had been doing a lot with the pollinators and the
Yeah.
conservation land, so,
Great.
but it's nice to see something in, writing and.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Good to hear. Excellent. Okay, so for this meeting on our agenda here is just to look at these and figure out our next step forward. And then we're just going to talk about the potential Conway School projects as well. So we go back up to the top here. These first couple are connected to the maps, so that we'll be working on for the next meeting. I started to work on, I worked on this before and was kind of not figuring out the best way to do this, but one thing that we're trying to have prepared is a plan for when we start to come up with potential conservation projects, being prepared for actually what we do next. So I worked on this timeline, very much a work in progress, for the state's land grant, which is a grant that's just available to municipalities to acquire land for conservation, and one that would be a great opportunity for us to take advantage of because we have not been applying for it. So which would increase our likelihood of getting it. Greenfield has a 70% match, so they would cover 70% of the expense up to $425,000.
Oh, wow.
So
We
it's
have CPA now, so.
and we have CPA that can fill that other 30% potentially. So it's really it's the potential for us to conserve new land with zero real expense to the city.
Yeah.
So that's why I focused on this as sort of thinking about what those steps would look like. So I have gone through and sort of mapped out a little bit of what this looks like we need to have a parcel that we deem one that we want to protect and somebody who wants to sell it is sort of the key first step.
Yeah.
And then the steps that come after that, working with the city to get them on board, finding a partner to hold a conservation restriction. This is sort of my initial thoughts on it. Others, especially Emily, if you have edits or other additions to this, I welcome any and all. There's various preparation that we would need to be doing in advance of an application that are components of the land grant application. We have to have an appraisal within the year prior. We have to get comments from the state, a couple state departments. So there's a couple things, some boxes that need to be checked. And that, we've sort of talked about our role is the facilitators in some way. The Conservation Commission would be the entity that would be acquiring the land, but they have a lot on their plate. So I see a lot of this stuff as stuff that we can be facilitating and helping helping the city to make happen. The land grant application is due in July each year. So just something for us to keep in mind, and these steps that need to happen before that. And then the various steps that happen afterwards, or some of which can happen before as well. So anyway, that's some of the work that I've done on my line there, the creating a timeline for land protection
That looks
projects.
really good. One of the steps I think was get costs associated, that was with it.
Yes.
And I actually put together a little template budget.
It-
Did I share that with you too?
Is this it?
Yeah, that's it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Saw that in
For
there,
the Conservation Commission, because as they were going through the request for the CPA funds to go for the Conservation Fund,
Uh-huh.
Travis requested that, and I was like, well, I need to do it for the task force too.
Perfect.
So hopefully it'll be helpful.
Absolutely.
And let's see, this is the current one or an older one? I'll double check to make sure, because some of the costs have gone up quite a bit.
Okay,
So
yeah,
I talked to my colleagues that are doing conservation more currently than I am.
yeah, great.
So I'll double check to make sure that that's the most accurate numbers.
Yeah, it's great though. It gives some sense that I think a lot of folks don't realize the full expense of a conservation project where you see like, here's the asking price. Well, there's other stuff involved. And so it's good to have
Exactly.
this. So great. Thank you.
And if that is approved, it'd be great to have money in the Conservation Commission's budget to just go toward due diligence or something that would, like sometimes you need an appraisal just to find out how much you're gonna be asking for, which
Right.
comes long before the grant gets there. So it'd be really nice to have that kind of thing to help these projects along.
Great. Good. Anything else that's happened or that folks want to report in on this this first priority? Some of it will be after the map. So and I know Allison's names on a couple of these. She also just chatted that her service is spotty right now, so she may not be able to chime in. And she's juggling a new job and working in the map, so she has a lot on her plate. No pressure, Allison. These couple other things on there can wait. Great. Anything else on that one?
Looks like, are we finalizing the map next month since we won't look at it? Or
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the plan. Oh, right. So
just
changing
to
that.
November?
Yep. Yeah, so that's our hope is to have that set in November. Good. All right, so moving on to the next one, trails. Francois isn't here. Pat, if you have anything to report back on from that?
Yeah, unfortunately, nothing. Francoise and I were gonna meet and take a look at the maps, and she had some family issues going on, so we
Uh-huh.
couldn't meet. And that was right before she went to France.
Yeah,
So we're sort of behind on that one.
okay,
I think our plan was to, we're pretty familiar with at least with Highland Park and Poet Seat, because we both walked there for years. And so then we're obviously gonna look at the map that we get from Allison and try to figure out, so which trails are formal trails, but there's trails in there that I think the mountain bikers would put in, and at least at Highland Park. So we'd have to figure out what those are. And then, this is just stuff that she and I talked about a little bit before we had a formal sit down. And we also wanted to come up with a project that we could get, CPA funding from, or maybe the Conway School of Design students could work on.
Mhm.
And one of the main things we're thinking could be a big issue would be if we're doing trail maintenance and there's rare species, nearby, then, that could be potentially a pretty big, project in and of itself.
Yeah.
And once we know how much of that is, there, then we can figure out trail maintenance, and how you work around that.
Yeah.
So these are just things we just kind of talked about.
Yeah.
Among ourselves, because we walk there all the time.
Great.
I'm pretty familiar with it.
I can kind of give you a little information. So the rec commission has, or the rec department, has been working on a project that's remapping all of those Highland trails.
Oh,
And we should have, and, we have some CPA money to do that. I don't know 100% where it stands. It got held up for a little bit, but I think it started moving forward again. I think we're at the point to actually put in post markers to mark which ones are actually clearly marked trails, and then we'll be able to put out the maps here soon too.
awesome.
So a lot of what you were, the new trails that were made and stuff, some of those will be noted on the map as like pre-made, bike trails and things like that. So, once that survey comes in, that would probably be of great use to us here.
Mhm. And so the maps that Allison shared some maps from FERCog. I don't know if that was an initial.
That FERCog we've been working with the FERCog, so I don't know which maps you have.
Must be an early version of.
There's been 3 to.
Oh, great. Thanks, Emma. Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
Actually, Dan, thank you so much for that report because I had a lot of questions about that. And I have a follow-up question about the money that the Parks and Recs has to do trail signage. And do you know if you're at a point where you have enough money to actually put up some signs, and has a decision been made of what those might look like?
No decision has been made on what they will look like. I feel like we've seen some prototypes and had some examples from other national parks or other trail systems that we were using as examples that we were gonna try to mimic. And then as for the budget, last I knew, there's still money budgeted specifically for those signs. In the last budget I saw.
Fabulous, thank you.
Great. So maybe, if you're, Dan, I don't know if you're interested in helping on this particular, obviously the bridging, anything that's going, one of our big things is we don't want to be duplicating or stepping on toes.
Right.
We're just trying to fill gaps where stuff's not getting done. And so if there's work being done that you're feeling like is overlap, we can let us know, like rec department has this covered, or we just want to make sure we're helping,
No, absolutely. And, after a meeting or two here, I'll kind of really be able to tell, all right, we're overlapping here, but right now, just trying to take in as much as possible.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, I have one more question for you, Dan. Has the Rec Commission discussed anything about trail usage? And specifically what I'm talking about is like whether, there might be trails that are bikes only or no bikes, or, that type of thing. Has that been discussed?
That has been discussed on multiple occasions. And it's wavered one way or another. And we haven't settled on final maps, but there have been multiple times where we've talked about having specific trails only for mountain bikes, some that are shared because you can only access a spot by one shared trail or whatnot. And then I actually haven't seen updated maps in a few months, so I don't know if it went on hold on updating the maps, but I already made a note to pull up all the copies of maps I have for the next meeting here, so we know, so I'll gather all that stuff.
Great.
I actually meant to email you like a week ago to ask if there was any documents I should bring, and
Yeah, no,
busy time for me, sorry.
yeah, no worries. Great,
Thank you, that's really helpful.
Okay, good.
Great. Emily, what time do you usually leave?
I'll just sneak out probably sometime before 6.
Okay, pollinators, anything to report on your side, Patty?
So I've read through the FERCog's pollinator toolkit implementation guide, which you can find on the FERCog website. And I've been trying to get in touch with Paul of the DPW. Basically, it's recommending, this toolkit is recommending specific changes to implement in the mowing, like mowing at certain times of the year, kind of rotating the mowing, using a flushing bar to like kind of scare away wildlife, and to have somebody observing what pollinator plants there are and kind of make adjustments, and also integrate volunteer feedback. And so I am trying to understand when I can meet with Paul, I'd like to understand what the current situation is, like what is their current schedule? Have they tried using a flushing bar? Like, how are they communicating with the crew? Does this feel feasible, and what can we do to make it feel feasible? I've been talking with Nancy, who's a solid volunteer with Greenfield on a lot of these pollinator projects, and has asked DPW to make some changes, and also Wisty, who's been working on the Greenfield floodplain restoration project, removing invasive plants, and has been working with DPW, communicating with them a little bit there. So whatever DPW, maybe I think that it might be possible to just kind of tweak some things that they're doing and make a really big difference. And then whatever DPW can't do, maybe the volunteers might be able to pick up. And then I've got some thoughts about like potential community engagement projects, maybe something that could be a CPA project or something else. But it feels like I'm making progress. I chatted with Jessica, the conservation commission agent, to see. I've been trying to like see how can I get in touch with Paul. I know he's very busy. So chipping away.
Yeah.
And yeah, so.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Chipping away, that's great. Chipping away is the best we can do. Yeah, that's great. Awesome.
Patty, a question in my mind about the plan
Mhm.
is there was a pollinator corridor sort of designated.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure if it was part of the plan or a different, initiative. Kind of missed it, but I'm curious, am I on it? Like, how do I connect with it? And like, I'm just curious
Okay.
about that. So if you come across it or can point me in the right direction, I'd love to learn more.
Okay, I will find out. And yeah, that would be a nice thing for at least people to know about in general. And I
Yeah.
also,
I can answer that piece quickly.
Oh.
Greenfield has a specific pollinator action plan, and in that plan there are maps made for Greenfield. I can send those along. They're separate from, they might be copied in the toolkit, but they're a little bit separate.
Great.
That's
Doesn't-
I also had a question when reading through the toolkit. They're kind of making suggestions for policy that municipalities could adopt, and one of them was a pollinator mowing resolution. And I wondered if that's something that Greenfield has considered or talked about at all. And
I imagine Nancy Browson might have.
yeah, and SGIC, I would think that might come
Yeah.
up.
It hasn't come up in the last few years that I've been there, yeah.
And is that just on public land or is that all?
I think it's kind of like all like when you're asking, like when you're approving subdivisions, and when you're getting contractors, and just kind of like requirements to have in the policy, and then also like what DPW would be doing. So.
Nancy, are you familiar with any previous discussions on that?
Not in depth. I know that the Greenfield little our subcommittee, pollinator subcommittee, we have a number of issues that we have been wanting and waiting to talk about with Paul also. So I'm thrilled that you're doing this. And we had been waiting for the land use chapter to be approved, the new land use chapter to be approved, so that there was, you know, that kind of documentation there in place. So I'm thrilled that that's now in place. So this is all good timing. Thank you for moving it
If you
forward.
didn't hear, yeah, the planning board approved the new chapters to both the land use and the natural, cultural, and historical resources chapters to the master plan have both been approved. So those are both updated. And yeah, step forward. Yeah. They're not out there yet. So that's the next steps. They need to be like publicized and promoted. So that's coming. Great. Thanks, Patty. And the last one is community engagement, where we have, oh, we lost Allison. Where we have a goal to conduct a public session or sessions, providing information, collecting input around open space. And I don't know if you had a chance to give any additional thought to that, or,
Only the mildest.
yeah.
But I think having the maps seems like a really great
Yeah,
focus for our energies, and doing some kind of session, maybe at the library or here or something like that in spring, or I mean, just winter into spring would be good.
Yeah.
I have been, I'm gonna be making some visit to one of the town forests, Griswold,
okay.
with the forester who has done management planning for him in the past, like in Fish, and with the conservation agent, Jessica Siegel, on November 1st.
Okay.
So that's another type of area that makes sense to have community involvement around. There's a lot of different plans, you know, you can get forest management plans, you can get funding. If people wanted to do any kind of anything in some of the town forests, and Griswold is a good place to start since it has a long history of being managed. And it has some trails, and we at the Conservation Commission has been sort of talking about revitalizing the interpretive signs at the trails in Griswold. So that's part of the reason why we're meeting with Lincoln, is because he had made them to begin with. And now they're, you know, they've gone through that era where they talk about the log that could be used as a drum log by the grouse or whatever. And now the log is rotted and gone. So that sign is no longer current and needs to be updated. I think there's some TLC that property could use. So,
Yeah, that's great.
so a good place to start anyway.
Yeah.
I'd like to come.
Yeah, at our last SGIC meeting, there was some talk of community engagement that, I guess, prior to COVID, SGIC did quite a bit of community engagement.
That's great.
And I joined after COVID, so I missed that, but there's talk of getting back to that a bit. So I think there could be a way that we integrate whatever we're looking to do with something connected with SGIC's community engagement too, so.
FERCog has a couple of big grants too, focusing on Greenfield and watershed
Right.
and flood resilience planning.
It's gonna
And
have,
that was one of the sort of topics that had come up for us as well. We supported that grant and was awarded, so that also I'll be involved with as well. So I feel like there could be some good opportunities for synergy here.
yeah, awesome, sounds great. Excellent. Speaking of supporting grants, SGIC approved to send a letter from SGIC
Oh,
to
great.
support.
For the Conservation Commission?
Yeah, so, and I sent around to this group, not to you, the draft letter from the Open Space Task Force supporting the Conservation Commission's request. I don't know if you're familiar, have heard of this, the conservation, I don't know if you want to
I'll just summarize.
yeah.
You know, along with all the other things you can request money from the CPA for, the Conservation Commission has a account called the Conservation Fund or whatever.
Okay.
And so they can request to have a certain amount of money put into that fund every year. And then it can be used throughout the year as approved by the Conservation Commission, you know, by one vote at a meeting, to support either purchase of an interest or property or due diligence to support conservation.
Okay.
So it would just be a really flexible fund, and not a lot of money has been used for conservation. thankfully has been gone towards recreation.
Yeah.
But we want to have all the open space needs met. So
Yep.
we're hoping to make a request like that every year. Not to take everything away, but just a modest amount
Yep.
so it can grow over time or be used every year.
Yeah.
So we sent a template letter and are looking for people's support. And it sounds like there was a little bit of feedback where they were concerned about doing something like this that would take away from other, needy projects. And the nice thing is that this actually just makes it easier to do projects. If you have this in April or whatever, or June, when you can't get the cycle of the CPA funds, you could maybe have a project move along in the meantime that otherwise.
Right, conduct the due diligence in the meantime until you can get the, yeah, no, that makes absolute sense.
So we're hoping, very much support, appreciate everybody's.
Yes, any individuals who want to send a letter of support, Emily emailed that around. And I don't know, do folks feel comfortable sending one from this task force as well? The template that I sent around, I guess you requested it, so I guess yes. Allison, did you have any input on that?
No, it looks good to me. I'm in support.
Great, okay.
And all the support should go to Jessica Siegel, the conservation agent. She'll assemble everything. And it's quick. We have to get everything to them by mid-November.
Yeah, I'll send it all in this week from SJC from us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And with that, I think I might head out.
Okay. Oh, can I ask you one question before you do?
Yes.
Just our next two meetings are close to holidays, and I think we started to talk about it last time. So our next meeting is scheduled for November 24th, which is the Monday before Thanksgiving. Is that I'm around and able to do that? I don't know if that's a problem for others. Be close to the holidays.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, I'm traveling, but I can zoom in. Should be able to zoom in. I don't see why not.
The
I'll
24th?
be in town.
You'll be what?
I'll be in town.
In town? Okay,
Yep.
great. And Patty?
That's fine.
Yeah, okay. Great. So we'll stick with that one. And then December 22nd is the one after that. Does that matter to anybody?
Not
Is-
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean,
Yeah.
probably, but yeah,
Hard to commit.
Christmas.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for now,
Sorry, I'll be available.
okay, yeah, great. So for now, we'll continue to plan on both of those, but if anything comes up, let me know. Great, thanks,
Thank you
Emily.
very much.
Yeah. Great, and we don't actually have one other item besides public comment, which is the Conway School. I think everyone here is familiar with the Conway School, and each year their students do multiple projects in the real world. They have somebody new who has taken over finding those projects. Her name is Emily, and she reached out to me just saying that they're a little short on projects for this year. She doesn't know what's possible. She's still exploring a lot of avenues, but she did wonder what we had that could be a possible project for them for this winter. So we don't want to get our hopes up too much, but we could spend a few minutes just if folks had an idea or two on something that we might want to suggest that could be helpful towards what we're looking.
Jonah, could you remind us? I know that the Conway School does 3 projects a year.
Yeah,
And the first one is a residential yard. And then the second one is, can you remember what the focus is? And then the spring is the
City.
biggest one.
City scale, and then in the spring, it's neighborhood scale.
And
So-
same in the winter one, the winter spring, yeah.
Yeah, the winter one is for the city, so that's when they reach out to talk to cities, like working on the open space plan update.
yeah,
And then in the springtime is when they work with kind of like smaller organizations, so that could potentially be I don't know the rules for like different projects and what the city can do, but like a smaller area. So like they might work on like a campground, like figuring out how they want to update the way they're using a campground, or
Right.
like maybe like a graveyard, like how to make that more ecologically friendly.
Yep.
So if you can make a case for just trying to make any, like a golf course, like more ecologically functioning, friendly, anything that's going to like increase habitat connectivity, or like, I mean, there must be, there's probably, if we were to like pour through, maybe what committees are doing, anything that might relate to, conservation, and maybe just needs some kind of like a little extra planning around. I think Conway's really good at making maps to communicate to the public.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know how much of that like persisted after like their open space update. Because I know that went like under review with the planning board, I think, and SGIC.
Yep.
But yeah, they can just put a lot of time into looking through things.
Research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I was trying to think particularly with the lens of our 4 priorities that we're working on, if there was something specific that we thought could be helpful. I mean, some of the mapping work that is almost done is probably would have been something that they would have been interested in. But obviously no need for that at this point. Kind of the same with the trails work. That's the mapping of the trails work that's also well on its way.
that's happening within the recreation committee?
Yeah. We hired out someone to
Mhm.
GPS map everything.
No, I've gone birding at the Green River Cemetery. Are people familiar with that place?
Yeah,
And I'm just wondering if that would be a potential project to have them look at that cemetery and what you could do to make it more ecologically friendly, because it's right next to the Green River. It's kind of, there's open space around that. Because there's, let's see, there's the cemetery, and then there's a bunch of grounds associated with the church there. And then across the street, there's the fairgrounds. So it's not like, a cemetery that's just stuck in the middle of the city with all urban areas around it.
right.
It just was off the top of my head. So only because I think of that cemetery, it's a really pretty cemetery. It's like it's got some really interesting structure around it.
Yeah.
That's just one thing I could think.
Awesome.
Is that
Yeah.
kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned cemeteries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, I don't really have much, spent more of my time working on trying to get DPW,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah, it's fine. Since I don't know the likelihood, I mean, we don't have money for it, so it would only be if they're giving these away, which sometimes they do if they're desperate for filling projects, so that we don't know if they're gonna be at that point of giving out projects or not. But I could say that we're interested in, to let us know if it becomes a reality, we can talk about it more seriously.
yeah, I wonder what new things maybe have, like, if there's new policy that might open up some space for an idea, like, I wonder if all the people who are in SGIC might know more, because you have like the planning
Mhm.
updaters and
Right.
maybe there's rec on there, I'm not sure.
Yes, right.
But I think that they might might be able to come up. But
Yeah,
I will also.
great. Right. If there's nothing else, and folks can can email me too if any ideas come up for anybody. You can feel free to email. There's nothing else on that. We open up to public comment, which there are no members of the public here. So.
Well, I wanted to,
No?
when I was talking to Jessica about some of the other, open space CPA funding requests. One of them was the Miller's Meadow. Part of their request was to do invasive management, and so I was curious about that.
I know Nancy's been involved with that project. She may have more.
Nancy, are you familiar with Miller's Meadow invasive?
I am, the Athena, the grant writer, Athena Barkley, the city grant writer, is in the process of writing a grant to Mass Wildlife. And it includes some invasive management. Unfortunately, the timing of that grant is such that there's not enough sort of passage of time in order to actually implement too much. But so right at this point, what they're looking at is, so I guess you apply now and everything has to be completed by the end of June.
For the CPA funding?
No, for the, oh, you're talking CPA funding. I was seeing.
Well, I think that's what I had heard, and then they're gonna consider tomorrow at the Conservation Commission about the Mass Wildlife funding.
Right,
I
so,
thought-
so back to the CPA funding, that went to the Conservation Commission and they said that what we were doing was, it wasn't something that they could fund. So because of the way the rules are written about what you can use the funds for. Basically, the issue was the property was not purchased with CPA funds, therefore you could not use the funds for rehabilitation. You could use them for creating something, and we thought of a couple of, we'll create XYZ, but the CPA didn't go for it. So, so we gave up on that idea. So now we're just focusing on the Mass Wildlife.
Um,
And that would involve, we have some herbaceous problems with vetch on the side hill, as well as, well, that's the biggest problem. And so the proposal is to actually use some, or hire Chris Politan from, I always forget the name of his organization, Land Stewardship, I think it is.
yeah.
To use some herbicide on it and really get rid of it. And then Peter Wackenagel's group would also follow up with all that stuff and do some hand pulling and stuff. So, but because of the timing, we can't address any of the knotweed, for example. There just isn't enough passage of time to do that. And there would be some hand cutting of Japanese knotweed. I'm sorry, bittersweet.
Because
And-
that Mass Wildlife funding has to be used up by June or the end of
June
June?
30th, 2026.
Wow.
So it's basically, if you're lucky, it's a 6-month grant. Which I mean, if you're lucky, if they actually announce who gets it in January, which seems unlikely but possible, then you've got 6 months to complete the project.
So it sounds like that's not on the docket anymore, but were there others that she had
Well,
mentioned?
sounds like it's still on the doc, well, yeah, not for CPA, but
Right,
for
yeah.
Conservation Commission. And then there's another one that sounds cool. And it's about putting pallets downtown, movable planters. Maybe you have thoughts.
Right, the GBA is working on that, so Dan, you must know about that.
Yeah, I mean, the Blooming Greenfield, they're the ones that put out the barrels. They're kind of a subcommittee of the GBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, but did they apply for a CP, did they apply for a CPA?
Yep,
It did? Hmm.
with RDG deploys in modular mobile planters for safer, greener, and more walkable streets, and to extend the reach of the city's open spaces. Mounted on heavy-duty pallets for easy relocation, the planters can be strategically placed to narrow roadways, slowing traffic and improving safety for pedestrians and cyclists. They offer climate resilience, reduce urban heat, absorb rainwater, support air quality, and on. So sounds good.
I don't know if the Blooming Greenfield does all those, but that name didn't ring a bell, so I don't know if that's someone else who thought of the idea. The CPA is open to anyone can just go in, you don't need to be part of an organization,
Yeah.
so.
My understanding from Hannah is that the Blooming Greenfield is a subset of the GBA.
It is,
Yeah.
What I'm saying is I didn't realize they put in a CPA request.
I wonder
I mean,
if
that.
it'd be
that wouldn't
redundant
need-
or coordinating would be.
Right, or if, yeah,
So-
that's probably either associated with them or
Yeah.
it's just something else.
Yeah, regenerative design group.
Okay. I know they work a lot with the GBA. I mean, even though I'm on the board, I don't know every little,
Sure.
especially that subcommittee.
Yeah,
I get a monthly report. We did this.
Right.
All right.
are they doing pallets with the blooming?
Right now, it's just the barrels.
Okay.
Those barrels you see in front of a bunch of shops,
Yeah.
they have people, volunteers who water them regularly, planting them, and then I would assume they're supposed to be getting picked up soon if they're not already.
Yeah,
We have a monthly meeting next week, so I'll probably get an update on that.
I wonder, thinking about stewardship and whether this would be a DPW thing that they would be taking care of, like I wonder who would be taking care of these planters.
I would assume, so if it was regenerative, I know they've done a lot of work with us at the GBA, so my guess is even if that's not technically through one of our subcommittees, there's probably some relation, and Hannah's probably already has it on her radar that if this gets approved to be, us that would monitor, but I'll check with her.
Yeah, I'd be curious who's doing that.
Great. Sounds good. Anything else anyone has to add in our final moments? All right. We will adjourn. I guess we need a motion to adjourn.
Oh.
Right now. You are now part of our small team of people that can do that.
Okay, then I'll motion to adjourn.
All right, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, thanks, everybody.